With all the live action Spider Man movies swinging their way back into theaters, I thought now would be a great time to stop and rank all 10 Spider Man movies. Now, disclaimer, Spider-Man is my favorite superhero. I love all the live action versions of Peter Parker, Tom Holland, Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield. There's not a movie on here that I don't not like, well, maybe with the exception of one. And I know they're not re-releasing the Spider-Verse films right now, but I just thought, what the heck, let's include those because Miles Morales is also Spider-Man. So, that being said, let's kick off this list with number 10, The Amazing Spider-Man 2. To nobody's surprise, this movie is dead last. And look, I love Andrew Garfield. He is a great Spider-Man, maybe not the best Peter Parker, but a great Spider-Man. But let's be honest, this movie is pretty hot garbage. It is so convoluted and overstuffed with so many plot lines that just don't go anywhere. There's no main narrative of the film. You have the setup of the Sinister Six. You have the setup of the Amazing Spider-Man 3. You have the Black Cat setup. You have the Alistair Smith setup. You have everybody puts on a backpack and they're a villain setup. With Sony trying to make this sprawling Spider-Man universe, they forgot to do the most important thing, which is make a good movie. Side note, the suit in this movie is phenomenal. This is like a top tier Spider-Man suit. Only redeeming quality with this one is the chemistry between Emma Stone and Andrew Garfield. That there is the strongest aspect of both Amazing Spider-Man movies. And speaking of, number 9, The Amazing Spider-Man. This one, just to clarify, there's a bit of a gap here between Amazing Spider-Man 2 and Amazing Spider-Man. Might be a bit of a hot take. These movies just feel a little soulless, a little bit of, there's that character missing, especially this one coming off of the Raimi trilogy. It just doesn't have like the love, the feel in there. It just feels like a studio making a movie so they can hold on to the rights of their IP. They try to go that darker route of like, because like the Nolan Dark Knight trilogy was really popular at the time, and the Tobey trilogy was kind of campy, so they just wanted to go a little bit darker, a little more moody. They had perfect casting here with Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone, but I mean, Andrew Garfield does not come off like a nerd in this movie, right? Like, he is too attractive. It just doesn't really have that pop or flair for me that it does for a lot of other people. Like I said, Andrew Garfield is a great Spider-Man. He's a great actor. He just does not have the best movies. Also, the Amazing Spider-Man suit kind of looks like a basketball. Number 8, Spider-Man 3.
See you, chump.
Being totally honest, this one, I was going back and forth with Spider-Man 3 and The Amazing Spider-Man, kind of flipping them. What it came down to, at the end of the day, I enjoy Spider-Man 3. Is it a good movie?
No!
But is it a hilariously bad movie?
Yeah!
You still also have some redeeming qualities here of just Tobey Maguire in general, Kirsten Dunst, still a great director with Sam Raimi, and just a universe that feels lived in, that feels explored. Just the storyline of the black suit getting tangled in with the Sandman, like, it all obviously feels like way too overstuffed. Not as overstuffed as The Amazing Spider-Man 2, but like pretty borderline. And then to top it all off, you have the infamous dance sequence that I don't know who thought was a good idea to put in this film.
Now dig on this.
But kudos to this one for having, one, such an amazing Spider-Man suit, but two, one of my favorite lines in any movie ever.
I'm gonna put some dirt in your eye.
Number 7, Spider-Man Far From Home. Definitely Tom Holland's weakest entry in his trilogy, but still some great things going on here. I've always loved the plot line with Mysterio, how that kind of plays into Peter's maturity here. Tom Holland is such a great balance of Peter Parker and Spider-Man. It's not shown the best in this movie, but we'll get to that later. I'm a big fan of Spider-Man, of being in this movie, like being pulled out of New York, because we've seen him in New York so many times in live action up until this point, and it's like something a little different in his movies. Still feels very Spider-Man. Also, how can you talk about this movie and not bring up the Mysterio illusions? Some of the best action in a Spider-Man movie. Those two drone sequences there in the middle, and then when it gets to there at the end, are just like, I mean, I was fully floored. And then especially that little moment where, because Tom Holland has the moving eye lenses, they close to do his spider sense or tingle or whatever they call it in this movie. And it's just when they close.
Come on, Peter Tingle.
Phenomenal. I just love that whole section. What holds this one back, it's obviously not the strongest plot. I don't believe that Tony Stark would leave these glasses for Peter Stark that has like controls the drones and everything like that, like outer space, and can hack into software. Is it just also not even just leaving that to like Peter? If Iron Man, Tony Stark always had those glasses, why didn't he use them in Endgame or like in Infinity War or any other time? That's just a pretty massive plot hole. Also, this movie is where I feel it really got into, let's use some extra suits just to sell toys. I don't like that Night Monkey suit thing that they did. It feels cheesy. It doesn't even make sense story-wise, because he does it so it doesn't give away his Spider-Man identity, but then at the end of the movie, he just makes a whole suit that is a Spider-Man suit, very obviously. So like, it's obviously just in there to sell toys. Number 6, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
You need to leave!
I know, everybody loves this movie. I just find it a bit boring. Maybe it's retroactively after Across the Spider-Verse coming out. I was never a big fan of this when it did come out. I didn't go see it in theaters. I tried to watch it on Netflix once, didn't really get into it. And then actually in COVID, I decided to give it another chance, and I actually really did like it that time. Also, just to clarify, this is where we're getting into the more like positively reviewed, like good movies. Like, nobody can deny that these are good movies from here on out. Maybe it's the movie being animated where I just don't take it as seriously, or it just doesn't have the same weight as live action films. It is undeniably an amazing Spider-Man film. I love Miles Morales. I love Gwen Stacy, Spider-Gwen. All the hilarious multiverse like people that they bring in, and the drama in the movie, like, and the impeccable animation is all fantastic here. I just, like I said, maybe to me it just feels like an animated movie. I can totally get why people love it, and why some people would even put it as their number one, not even Spider-Man movie, but like comic book movie of all time. To me, it's just not that level. Bringing us into our top 5, we have Spider-Man. The movie that kicked off the superhero craze, gave us Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man, Sam Raimi directing. This movie stands the test of time. I loved it when it came out, and I still love it today. Actually, fun fact, I was super young when this movie came out, and my family went to go see it in IMAX, and I got so scared with the Green Goblin that my mom and I left the theater, and my sister and my dad stayed. I was just like way too scared. But like I said, Spider-Man being my favorite character, my favorite superhero, this was such a big introduction to him, and just like everybody's main introduction to him. This movie is phenomenal. Yes, it's very cheesy. Yes, the CGI doesn't really hold up. But you can't deny that this movie and this universe that this film is set in just has such a simple, quaint charm. Number 4, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. You guys are gonna come from my neck on this one. I got the ops on me.
I swear to God, you had to do that a second time.
No, I will really edit it out. I will. There's no denying that this is a great Spider-Man story. The whole canon event thing, Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099, Miles Morales having to fight for his right to be, like, to defend that he is Spider-Man. Just the cultural phenomenon that this movie was, that the noise, I don't know if I want to do it again. That noise that was all over TikTok, what was it? It was like, you guys know, you know what I'm talking about. That noise. It is a great Spider-Man movie. I'm not saying that it is not. It's just, for me, it is an amazing movie, but the 3 that come next, I just can't put it past them. So that's why this falls at number 4. Number 3, Spider-Man Homecoming. I remember when it was announced, like, I remember where I was when it was announced that Spider-Man was coming into the MCU, and we didn't know if it was going to be Andrew Garfield or a new take or whatever. And then we got Tom Holland in Civil War, and then we finally got a standalone MCU Spider-Man movie, and it was everything that I had ever wanted in a Spider-Man movie. The idea to make Spider-Man a teenager and make it like a Ferris Bueller's Day Off, like quaint little story where there's no blue beam into the sky, like the world's not ending, the universe is not going to collide with another universe or anything like that. Just this small Spider-Man story, self-contained, was the perfect idea for a Spider-Man movie, especially coming off of so many that it was like world-ending stakes. And the casting of Tom Holland was the youngest actor to play Peter Parker at the time. He feels like a teenager in this movie. He perfectly balances Peter Parker and Spider-Man and what it means to be both. Just this movie feels so wholesome, and it's everything I wanted from a Spider-Man film. I don't even think he goes to like Manhattan in this movie. It's just like very self-contained intro to this Spider-Man, and it is like it's great. It's up there. Number 2, Spider-Man 2.
Pizza time.
I don't think anybody was expecting this movie to be as good as it was. The action, the drama, the CGI, the storytelling, directing. Spider-Man 2 just kicked it up to the next level. If you watch this movie, it feels like it came out yesterday. Like, it really does stand the test of time. Or not only one of the best Spider-Man movies, it's one of the best comic book movies ever, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time. But bringing us into number 1, Spider-Man No Way Home. This, hands down, is everything I wanted in a Spider-Man film. This is totally biased because I know the plot is not the strongest, and it obviously just tries to fit everything it can to just fall into place to get all the Spider-Man and villains and all of that back. But I don't care. I do not care. Seeing Tobey Maguire on the screen again is enough for me to just be like, this is it. I had waited so long. I cried about 5 times in the first time I saw this movie in theaters. And I think I saw this about 6 times in theaters. I own it on DVD. I love this film. I was so excited for Tobey Maguire to come back, but what I wasn't expecting was when Andrew came back, to get that redemption arc and to play just his version of Peter Parker at that point in the story so phenomenally well. I mean, he stole the show in this movie.
For you, is it like web?
There's all these moving parts in this movie, obviously, but it never forgets that it is Tom Holland's movie, and it plays this whole trilogy playing as his origin story. Had never been done before, and that it keeps that identity of the movie, just makes it so much stronger, where all these 3 Spider-Men are in their lives and how Andrew and Tobey helped Tom to become his version of Spider-Man, and he gets that suit at the end inspired by them. I'm gonna cry about it right now talking about it. I love this movie so much. So no, I don't really care that the plot, Doctor Strange should not have done what he did. Obviously there are some plot holes. It is all so great here. And I haven't even talked about the villains, Willem Dafoe back as the Green Goblin. He had never been out of that character before. He did not miss a beat. And that visceral action you get, the whole condo scene, Tom's Peter had never dealt with something like this before, and it's just the most intense action in Tom's trilogy. And of course, Jamie Foxx and Alfred Molina and just all of that. The whole death of Aunt May, great power comes great responsibility, that whole storyline. It just makes for the most perfect Spider-Man story. And that is why, for me, it comes in at number 1. So there's my list. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Be sure to let me know your top 10 Spider-Man movies, how it all stacks up there in the comments. Are you checking out all the Spider-Man movies in theaters right now? Do you agree with my list? Do you disagree with my list? I'm sure a lot of you are going to disagree. This is totally fine. Be sure to like and subscribe if you could. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you guys on the next one.